Tell me your name, where we are, what you're doing here.
Alright, so my name is Oliver. I am known as Basic Ollie on my YouTube channel. We're here at Blyton Park today. We've been invited by Ginetta, the lovely people at Ginetta. They sent me an email last week saying, hey, do you want to have a go in one of our cars? And I said, hell yeah I do. So here we are at Blyton Park. This is the car we're going to be driving today. It looks absolutely amazing. Can't wait to jump in and have a go for the first time. It's going to be a huge shock really because, you know, driving Ford Focus. From a Ford Focus to a proper race car is going to be quite the challenge, but I'm really looking forward to it. It should be really good fun. As you guys know, last time I was in a race car as such was Jimmy's MX-5, so with any luck today, with Jamie teaching me, we should be alright. We should get some laps down as long as the weather holds, because the weather doesn't look good. As long as it stays dry, then we should be alright. It's a massive thank you to Ginetta for inviting me down here, and we'll do some laps and fingers crossed throughout the day we'll get better and better.
I really am not trying to castrate you, I swear to God.
There's not much to castrate me.
Wait 2 seconds.
Alrighty then, the chap that I was just speaking to there is Jamie, and he is my instructor for today. Really, really nice bloke, and you'll get to see more of him in this video later on. But firstly, let's go for a cycle lap around this track. So we're at Blyton Park, and we are doing the outer circuit today. So Jamie's in the car, he's in the driver's seat right now, I'm just a passenger. Basically, getting a sight for what the track is like, because this is my first ever time going around the track. So turn one is a little bit of a tight left-hander going straight into a chicane called the Hump. And then you've got a long left-hander here called Lancaster Corner. It really stretches out this left-hander. Earlier you can get on the throttle, the better, but it's quite tough because the rear will step out in these wet and damp conditions if you try and put the power down. Remember, we do not have any traction control. And then down the back straight until you get to the chicane here, the second chicane of the lap, which is called the Wiggler. Great names for these corners. By the way, Jamie's just pointing out some braking markers for me here. Talking braking markers, is one here. The next corner coming up, you see the sign that we just gone past. It's the first braking marker. But we go through this left-hander here. It's not quite 90 degrees, but it does open up quite nicely. It's probably about 70 degrees and then opens up quite nicely, called Bishop's Corner. And then before you get absolutely blinded by the absolutely awful camera there, I don't know what's happened there. The exposure's got a bit crazy. We went through Bunga Bunga. And then the fast right and left-hander called Port Freud. Before we cut the track to the right. This is an old airfield, so you can kind of tell by the way the track is kind of laid out and looks. And then we go into Usher's Corner, the right-hander. A little bit of a straight here, still very, very damp, through Twickers, and that is essentially a lap of this circuit, the outer circuit.
Right then, so it should be neutral, but I've always started with the clutch in anyway, so push the clutch all the way in, quite heavy clutch.
Yeah.
Press the start button. That's it. And then keep the clutch in, neutral button, pull the right hand pedal at the same time. That's first gear, and then the clutch is roughly about halfway. As soon as you start to feel a move, just keep it like this.
Jobs are good. That's the first one to get out of the team. Not stall it. Yeah, not stall it. Right,
90% of people do stall it.
I don't have to clutch it now, right? That's it.
I know, unless you come to a stop.
Alright then, so as we head on to the track for our very first laps around this circuit, I just wanted to introduce you guys to Jamie. Now, Jamie is on the left here on your screens. Now, he has been basically hired by Ginetta to teach people how to drive racing cars, essentially, which is what we are doing here today. The idea of it is that Jamie can sit beside me with these helmets on, which you've actually got direct comms, so you can actually speak to each other whilst you're going around, which is why you can actually see him talking, but you can't actually hear him because the car's quite loud, but I can hear him perfectly fine because the helmets themselves actually have earphones in them, so you just put the helmet on and then they slot nicely onto your ears, and then you're able to talk to each other, which is really good, which, by the way, makes a huge difference to an experience like this when you've got a professional driver next to you and telling exactly what you need to do and literally reacting to your every movement as such, and teach you exactly what you need to do to be fast, you know, when to brake, how hard to brake, when you feel lockups, the difference between what it's like to drive in a sim and drive in real life, Main thing he basically told me is that normally in sim you can actually feel the front end grip up a little bit. It's quite hard to feel the same in a real life race car. In the sim you just know, from my experience anyways, you just know when the front end doesn't have enough grip anymore, whereas in a race car in real life it's quite hard to get that same feeling. So it's trying to adjust to that. Brakes and just the G-forces as well, going backwards and forwards, side to side, and feeling, you know, the real force of, you know, a lot of horsepower in a lightweight car, and with decent brakes and tyres as well. So obviously a huge difference to what you feel in sim. But honestly, having Jamie next to me was a huge help. Taught me an awful lot throughout the day. The only issue we had throughout the day was the bloody weather. The weather was horrendous. So we started the day semi-dry, but it got worse and it got worse. But it did get better by the end of the day, which you will see. Now, after about 3 or 4 laps, the rain did start coming down quite heavily, so we did decide to end the first one a bit prematurely, the first run, and then we decided to go into the pits, talk about the first 3-4 laps that we had there, how we felt, and we'll just wait for the rain to kind of settle for a bit, and then hopefully we can go out again. Unfortunately, it didn't really stop, so we decided to go out in the rain anyways. There she goes.
Pro status fucked.
Neutral.
Yep.
Oh, you dickhead.
Mate, what the f are you doing?
It's the wet, mate. It's the pressure of the wet. Oh, he's done it 3 times in a row! As soon as Josh turns up, well, fucking hell.
And you can't get to full power, so your challenge now is every time you come to an exit over here, right, you need to square the car off so you can get to full power earlier. So if you're being delayed to get to full power, It's like, oh, it's not too bad, and then it's like, no grip. Reverse again. No, reverse, yeah, that's it. Right, so that's, and then reverse basically back and then right down. Just gets us off the silicon so we can relax it. We've got one car coming, so we're just going to wait for them to go. Don't worry about that, mate, that's fucking normal.
Yeah.
So all down there, there's only one line through there. So every single time you go through there, the only line in there is the dry line, which is greasy anyway. So as soon as you end up kind of feeding throttle, just be ready for a quick correction there if you need it.
Yeah.
Right, first gear, mate, when you're ready.
Had a spin over there. So now the track is finally starting to dry up after Jamie gave me a few more tips about the track and basically the transition from damp to dry. We decided to get myself out there by myself to really just get a feel for the car when it's just me and see if I can set some lap times. And that's exactly what I tried to do. Obviously the track was improving every single lap. And my times on the relative were getting better and better. On the dashboard that I had in front of me, the actual relative was working, so I could actually see where I was gaining and losing time, which is very, very handy, I have to say. In real life, is in sim. But fortunately, a couple of times today, there was the Ginetta Juniors running, which you saw earlier spin. And unfortunately, on this dry run, there was another red flag. There was a few throughout the day, but there was another red flag, which meant, unfortunately, my dry run came to an end very, very quickly. But do not fear, folks. Do not fear, for I have another attempt later on. And let's jump on board with that. We'll see. Let's jump on board with that, shall we, boys and girls? And let's see how that gets on. Alrighty then, time for our fastest lap. Well, the fastest lap you're going to see on camera anyways. So let's have a look and see how we get on with this flyer. Into turn one, the long left-hander going into the chicane, the first long left-handers. A nice tight line there. You can just see how much more grip there is. Just touching the orange tarmac on the left-hand side, letting the car roll out through Lancaster Corner as we go onto the back straight and eye ourselves up for our braking markers into the Wiggler chicane. Into third gear, nice and tight to the left. Try to avoid taking too much curb on the right, because if you do, it really unsettles the car and you can't really get the power down. Iron up Bishop's Corner then, look for that braking marker. Brake it just before the left-hander, brake it into all the way down to third, let the car settle, then get back on the power on exit. Straighten the car up, don't go into fourth gear, stretch third gear out, long left-hander, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, then get on the power through bunga bunga. And then we set ourselves up through the fast right and left-hand corners coming up here. Not quite flat, but it does get flat on the end of the day. And we go and set ourselves up now for Usher's Corner, the right-hand corner, nice and close to hay bale, I want to call it. I don't know what you want to call that. And then straighten ourselves up, second gear, through left-hander, nice and tight, early on the power, and that was a 15.5 there. Now, unfortunately, on the next lap, I did get held up by traffic because we were about 4 tenths up on the relative before we got to chicane, and we caught up with the Ginetta Junior that you could just see in your screens just in front of me there. Now, I have to be honest, and I have to apologise, you didn't actually get to see the fastest lap on camera. Basically, because of all the red flags, it was very difficult to charge the batteries between them, and when the track was open and closed, so we couldn't quite have the battery charged enough to see the fastest lap. The fastest you've seen on camera is a 15.5, but at the end of the day, once we got all our practice down, we did a 9.7, a 109.7.
So you've done a few sessions, wet to dry, couple passenger laps.
Yeah, it was amazing. Jamie was a great teacher. I learnt a lot. Driving with no TC and ABS is always fun, but yeah, it was brilliant. I loved every second of it. Learnt a lot today. And so much braver than I was at the start of the day. By the end of it, you just turn up, you're quite nervous, quite anxious, but by the end of it, with a good teacher and just, you know, time in the car, learnt loads, absolutely loads, and it was a brilliant experience, and I cannot recommend it enough. And yeah, it's hell of a day, hell of a day. I've loved every second of it, and hopefully you'll get invited down here again and try and beat the lap time at 109.7 we got at the end of the day, which have been reliably informed is very good. So yeah, we'll hopefully come back at some point and we'll try and beat that time. Yeah, look at that on the dashboard. Look at that, that's beautiful. Look at that, 109.7. Jeez. But no, thank you very much to Ginetta, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can do this again sometime. Cool. But thanks very much for watching, guys. And this is Jamie, by the way. He's been my instructor all day. Top bloke, and we couldn't have done the 109.7 without him. Simple as that.
I used to have hair before we started driving.
Any comment, Jamie?
Genuinely, that's probably one of the better days I've seen from a rookie driver. On the first day, no time in the car, no time at the track, pretty much the worst conditions, wet to kind of greasy to drying to fully dry. So yeah, really impressed, mate.
Thank
Really
you.
impressed.
Thank
Really,
you,
really good. So yeah, he just needs to get racing now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Ginetta.
look forward to it. Yeah.